KKHT wants you to meet three of the classiest guys in real estate.
I am Chris Kelso, the maestro of mortgage.
I am Rob Cook, the godfather of real estate.
And I'm Joe Orsack, the king of credit swing. And together, we're
the Real Estate Rat Pack.
Much like us, real estate right now is smoking hot. So whether it's buying, selling, or owning, you need to check out the Real Estate Rat Pack.
They're here to take your calls and answer your questions live. Call now, 1-800-808-5548. And now, the Real Estate Rat Pack.
Woo! Good morning.
Have my coffee. I'm all hyped up, ready to go.
Ready to go. You know, we have a great show today. You know, one of the things we want to welcome everybody who's listening to us. More importantly, beautiful Saturday morning out there.
Beautiful.
And we have a great show for those who are either first-time home buyers or re-engaging in the home buying process. Maybe you've owned a home for a little while. You're going to come back in the market. You're going to either sell or buy a new home. You know, really, we're talking about everything, aren't we, today,
That's
Joe?
right. If it's been longer than 3 years, I promise you it's going to be like buying a new home.
Absolutely. You know, and that's one of the things that we tell everybody is we're a live show, so if you have a question, give us a call, 800-808-5548. We want to hear from you if you have a question in regards to buying, selling your home, or anything in regards to real estate. Specifically today, it's about the home buying process.
That's right. We've got listing experts. We've got buying experts. We've got credit experts. We've got mortgage experts. And Rob's missing. He just missed out on being an expert.
He just missed out on being an expert. Well, you know, we do miss him a lot, though. He's actually out in California having a great time today.
Yes. I believe family member, nephew getting married. So
that is correct, you know.
Hug the fam for us, Rob. I know you're listening. At 7 a.m.
At 7 a.m. over there. But, you know, we also have one of our sponsors, Capital Title of Texas, and they brought in a very good first guest to really get the show started for us.
Absolutely.
You know, we have Teresa Kennedy. She is with the Kennedy team. Teresa, how you doing?
I'm doing fantastic. Thank you so much.
Welcome aboard, by the way.
Thanks.
You know, and one of the things we're going to start off with today is talking about the process associated with home buying and new home buyers, right?
Yes.
And a lot of times we were talking about during the break or actually not really a break, before the
show,
is really the process of a lot of people don't realize.
Here's your coffee.
Exactly. Is that, you know, a first-time home buyer is really considered those who have not been in the home buying process for 3 years.
Yes.
Right? But you also have home buyers who are re-engaging in the process, and a lot of times that process comes about by starting to list their property.
Yes.
You know, talk a little bit about you and your team and about the listing process.
Well, we focus in the Woodland, Spring Conroe area, and I, as a listing specialist, I meet with these homeowners because, like you said, it's been a couple of years or it may be their first time ever to sell their house. And everything, if you've noticed, is online. It's social media. 98% of buyers are looking online now to purchase their homes. So whenever I do meet with these homeowners and discuss the selling process, I really take them from A to Z. What I get from them is that they have no clue. They were never explained the whole process. And I think because the market is so amazing right now that it's really good to educate them and that they get a qualified agent. And my team, we can definitely serve them. I only list homes. I have 2 buyer specialists that work with our buyers, and I have a great marketing specialist gal and photographer, stager. Staging the home is really important to get
Let's talk about that. You know, I've bought a couple homes in my life, but I actually have never sold a home yet. So for me, it's a completely new process, right? I'm a big fan of real estate, and I want to keep it.
Yeah, I would think so.
So it would be a brand new experience for me. Now, obviously, I know the industry, and I know a lot of folks in the industry, so I know there's a difference. But let's talk about the difference between someone who is focused on being a listing agent versus being a buyer's agent. For some people, that may never have hit their radar to say, you know, what is there a difference, or why should I consider a different, you know, focus?
And thank you for that question, because what I tell a lot of clients whenever I go and I meet with them, you would not want your dentist who maybe does 2 or 3 root canals a year to do your root canal. You'd want a specialist and an endodontist to do your root canal.
Sure.
So it's kind of the same thing whenever you're going to sell your house, because those of you who have worked with buyers, or buyers who have worked with buyer's agents, you're in the car all day long looking at homes, right? So as a listing specialist, what I do is my first 3 hours of the day, if you listen to my voice message, it says I'm prospecting in my office for buyers for my clients' houses. I'm in the office, I'm making phone calls, I'm following up. I am trying to sell my clients' houses versus being in a car showing buyers all day, because I can't, I found myself, as a mom of 3 boys and a working mom, that I was 7 days a week till 2:00 in the morning, and I was not servicing my clients the way that they deserved to be serviced. So I figured, leverage myself, have someone work specifically with the buyers so that the buyers get 110%, service, and I can service my sellers 110%. So
I was going to ask you how long it took driving around in Houston traffic before you determined you wanted to be a listing agent.
Let me tell you. Well, you know what? I kind of gravitated that way because, when I told you
this.
Yeah. Oh man, let me tell you something. It's like road rage. No, I'm kidding. I gravitated towards it because I love the marketing aspect of it. I love sitting down. I'm a people person. I love people. I love helping them out and learning their stories and doing the best that I can. So that's what I love to do.
You mentioned something right there. I think that's very important. One of the things we talk about a lot is when you're selecting a provider, and obviously we're going to be talking a lot today about the different providers that exist, both on the realtor side of things, credit, mortgage, inspections, etc. But you also have to do business with individuals you enjoyed being with, that you have a good relationship with, that you established a rapport with, and sometimes that exists and sometimes that doesn't. But what I tell everybody is, it's not always the best thing to go and hire your best friend because that's not necessarily the best thing for you, right?
Exactly.
It's about finding the best professional and then, more importantly, someone that you also can relate to, because at the end of the day, real estate is still a very personal transaction.
It is. And, one other thing that I totally forgot to mention is fiduciary responsibility. I don't do dual relationship. One thing that I do tell my clients is, as a listing specialist, you will never have to worry about me working on buyers on the sale of your house. Like some agents that do both sides, they list a home and they hold the open houses themselves and they work with the buyer. And I don't do that. I provide only to my sellers, and that's why I have my buyer specialist. They will work with any potential buyers that call on their property, and their homes are always going to get showed because I have a team working with me. And I do create a great relationship with all my clients. I believe that how I would want to be treated is how I treat everyone else. And when I first moved home, I was living out in Los Angeles doing stand-up comedy at the Comedy Store and the Laugh Factory, and moved back home to have my family here. And the realtor was the listing agent and the buyer's agent, and we didn't know anything about it. And you want to talk about, we moved in, none of the repairs had been done. He told us pay list price. We paid list price. He told us we didn't need a home warranty. We didn't get a home warranty. First thing that went out.
Glad Bill's not here today.
Right?
First thing that went out was a $500 oven panel repair. And the guy was like, "Don't you have a home warranty on your house?" And I was like, "No, because that realtor told us we didn't need one."
Oh, wow.
So I was like, always worked and love people. So I'm like, you know what? I'm going to be a realtor and make sure that never happens to anyone else.
Well, let's talk about real quick. As a listing agent now, I'm your client.
Yes.
And I'm selling my house.
You're such a handsome client.
Oh,
my mom always said I had a face for radio.
You do. Oh, no.
She almost said you do.
I almost said you do. You know what? Because you are so, you make us feel comfortable with that warm, genuine smile you
nothing
have.
to do with anything. I love when I'm out and about and people go, "You look familiar." And I always love that line because I immediately say, "You might recognize me from my radio show." I just wait for that to register on them. They're like, "No, I don't think that's it." Okay, so I'm listing my house now. I know nothing.
Okay.
All right. What am I needing to do? What is going to be the first thing that you're instructing me on that I need to deal with in being ready to list?
Okay. Well, what I do is I have my listing packet that I put together, and it is awesome. It totally explains everything that you need, as well as me sitting there and going over everything with you. I hire my stager to come out and meet with all of my clients, and because it's her job to tell them, well, you need to take this picture down, or you need to, move this or here. Look, as homeowners, we're all really proud of our houses, and so it can be very emotional, and I would never want to offend anybody. So I just sit down, I hear their wants and their needs, and then I explain the process. I tell them about my team after they've told me about what their wants and needs are, when they need to move by, what they're wanting to get out of the net of their home, because it's a teamwork. It's both of us, you and myself, Mr. Seller, and or Mrs. Seller. But yeah, and
maybe the wife.
And then I got a great checklist of stuff that they need to do. But really, I get Marcia, my stager over there, and she just does such a great job. Statistically, they sell a lot faster.
Absolutely. I wanted to jump in on that. We have a great home stager that sponsors the show, and I preach this all the time. I get cards on occasion from the realtor. I'm out in the community a lot, and I get cards from business owners, and and you flip the card over, and they have the Ambit Energy sales and Noni Juice, and I walk dogs, and I do house roofing, and whatever.
Oh,
and I'm like, so you just told me you're not good at any of that stuff.
Yeah, and exactly. Which is why, because the market, we really want to make sure that anyone, and this is just me as someone who did not know anything about buying a house, you really want to make sure you work with a qualified realtor. And if you do go, I've actually got a questionnaire on my website, KennedyTeam.net.com was taken. It was
I saw that already.
Yeah, Teresa Kennedy. She's a brain surgeon. How about that?
Who also sells real estate.
Yeah. Exactly. Okay, now let me pull my other mask off. So let me take a look at your brain today.
Teresa, if you're out there, I'm sorry. That was a joke.
No.
I was just kidding.
Anyway,
don't sue me.
No, don't sue him. He's got too sweet of a face. KennedyTeam.net. Go on there. I've got a great questionnaire. If you're interviewing an agent, print that out. Use that, because anybody, it's just like anyone can say that they can bake a cake. Anyone can say they sell real estate, but are they qualified? And that's what you want to make sure.
Interview your realtor. Okay,
I don't know if I'm qualified to bake a cake. That's a very good
Well,
right
now,
there.
listen, Chris, we're not talking about Betty Crocker, the little home kit that you got for Christmas
about the one
one
you
year.
actually have to make hand stretch.
Yeah. We're talking about, Cake Boss cakes.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah, and Cake Boss is a good show, by the way. And he makes some cool stuff out there. But getting back to one of the things that you mentioned right there is obviously there's a way you go about and you interview individuals that you want to work with. And we circle back around about doing business with individuals and with professionals that you like. For those individuals who have not been in the market for a little while, let's assume, first-time home buyers are one thing. Those individuals who, in my opinion, who have never owned a home. But then you have reoccurring home buyers who have been in the market at one point.
Yeah.
But this market is completely different right now.
Totally different.
What are some of the big things that you've seen and changes 5 years ago from today, or even last year from today?
Well, one big change that I see is the whole social media and not doing print. I tell a lot of my clients it's a waste of money, because if you look, catalogs, now they're all being emailed to you. And the same thing with all of my listings, we create personal websites and we do a text sign writer. Instead of putting those take one flyers out, my sign writer, when a buyer texts it, because 62% of buyers are drive-bys,
right.
When they text it, it sends me that potential buyer's phone number, and it pulls up my client's personal website on their cell phones. So it's really, because we have these smartphones and everything, it's about utilizing that it doesn't really cost anything. It's free to use e-flyers, websites, everything online. And also, I think that our market is definitely recovered. And I'm a very statistical girl, and I show my clients graphs of what their neighborhood performance looks like, for the past 10 years. And so it's, making that, using all the online tools that we have, making that smart decision together for the list price and where they could potentially sell.
No, and I would agree with you. I think social media has taken off today, between Facebook and Twitter and everything that's going on. There was a statistics that I saw the other day that something like 83% of all home buyers initiate some type of search online.
Yeah.
Which is huge,
Yeah.
And so if you start looking at things like that, you start really realizing that's a big change. 5 years ago,
huge.
The internet wasn't there.
Yeah.
Today, the internet is there. And today, we're going to have to come to the break right now.
I think the internet's a fad.
It just goes by so fast right now. Rob, we have Rob Cook, actually, who has called in, so we're going to have him right after the break. Come on, so did everybody. But, you are listening to the Real Estate Rat Pack. We are going to take a break right now. We'll be right back.
Don't ask me, I won't dance, madam, with you. My heart won't let my feet do things that they should do.
Welcome back to the Real Estate Rat Pack Radio Show with Chris, Joe, and Rob. The crew is taking your calls, so dial in at 1-800-808 888-5548.
Welcome back to the Real Estate Rat Pack Show. You know, Joe's in the house, Chris in the house, and Rob is on the phone. Rob, how you doing, buddy?
I'm doing great. How are you all this morning?
Well, probably not as good as you. Way out there in a great state of California, having a good time, drinking margaritas and enjoying that weather, huh?
He's rat packing in California.
It was mid-80s when I stepped off the plane yesterday, so it was a automatic 15-degree relief. So it was pretty nice. But our time's coming, and I always say, we have that hostile summers to keep out all the weak ones. So
that is true.
I'm definitely a Houstonian for the duration. Anyway, I've listened to the first segment. It was terrific. I'm ready to list my house with her.
Well,
She's awesome.
well, thank you, Mr. Rob.
She is awesome.
Well, I love the enthusiasm and stuff. And for Danny Frank, who's part of our Prudential family, I was doing a closing for him the other day, and because he was in California, and we did a kind of a bond program for a buyer who bought a low $200,000 home, and this is set up for the fire, police, and teachers. And it was pretty amazing to watch how simple this thing was. It was a first-time home buyer. She got a $10,000 and some odd dollar grant, and what it is, you keep this house for 7 years, and of course you meet your obligations, and the grant is forgiven. And I thought, wow, what a powerful program it is to get people, and especially these professions, into a home. And they bought up in that Humboldt area, kind of where you are, Joe. And I thought, this is really terrific. It's something that we probably should, I think we have a whole show around that in the future, but I thought it might be worth talking about. Millie probably does a lot of first time.
She is chomping at the bit to comment,
Absolutely.
Rob.
And it was a great
Chris
intro.
is holding her back right now.
Because one of the things they were saying is that,
and best of all, Chris Kelso did the loan.
Oh, wow, okay. Very cool.
One of the things that you brought on, Rob, is you actually invited Millie, obviously, to be Rat Pack today. And, one of the things that we're talking about, and we talked about this, already in the first segment, is first-time home buyers, new home buyers, first-time home listers, I think we talked about as well. By the way, for all those who are listening, we have both Teresa Kennedy and we have Millie in here. Millie, I don't want to chop up your last name. How do you say that, by the way? I have it as Kammerdiener.
That in German, or Kammerdiener in
Kammerdiener in
English.
Okay. I have the Spanish thing.
I just call her Millie. It's simpler.
Millie K for
Millie K.
Millie K. That
Yes.
is correct. Millie K.
I like that. I'm totally rolling with that from now on.
And Millie K, she's with newhomeprograms.com.
Correct.
And one of the things that we, a great segue into this, Rob, is, sort of the next thing that when an individual gets out there and they actually find or say, I want to either engage in the process of buying a new home, or I want to engage the process of listing my home and buying a new home.
Yeah.
The first thing they really have to do is then do what? Get a pre-approval.
Get a pre-approval.
That is correct.
And they don't know that. The first thing that they do, actually, it's get online. Hence the name, newhomeprograms.com. Because especially in this heat, we're talking about heat. Nobody wants to be out there. I know that the air conditioning is all great and dandy, but then the gas prices go up. So I thank God for my husband, because he thought about this many, 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 many years ago when the internet wasn't that hot. So newhomeprograms.com was live since 2004.
Wow.
And we were able to rip that, what he saw then right now, that, the media is, the social media is hot. And so our name, newhomeprograms.com, if you're looking for down payment assistance, if you don't understand where to start, if you just know you need a home, you can no longer stay where you're at, or you have to list your home because kids are out of the house, then, we are the service that is going to hand walk you from the start to finish. And Rob, you were correct. Not only in Humboldt, but anywhere in Texas, the government can provide for your down payment up to 5% of the price of the house, and at a locked rate. And that is anywhere in Texas. If you go within the city limits, of Houston, you can get up to $19,500. In certain pockets in Houston, you can get up to $30,000. Okay, and so it is available out there. And Teresa did say something earlier today that it was very important. If you are a real estate agent, Okay, you have to be knowledgeable. You have to be the source of the source. So if you don't understand, if you just know that you want to help people, but you need to know how to help these people. You need to go where to go, because sometimes not everybody is as knowledgeable as Chris, that, these loan officers may not know. And so you have to kind of guide them where to go. And so that's why New Home Programs agents are well-rounded realtors.
Yeah, and Millie, in that vein, though, I don't know that everybody knows that, you're not restricted. When those programs first came out, it was a lot for redeveloping those lots that the city owned inside the loop. And they're using that program again. It was for firemen, policemen, and teachers. And now it's expanded, and I don't know that everybody knows that. And kind of talk about it, maybe Chris, maybe you can talk about this also. It says, what's the qualification to be able to get a grant like such as that?
Absolutely. You're gonna hear lenders, and you correct me if I'm wrong, that they're gonna say we can have, we can start loans at 580 mid score. That's your middle score. You have 3 scores:
Sure.
TransUnion, Equifax, and Experience, and you know that. Hello, Joe. But and that confuses those lenders. I know.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Right.
Those lenders confuse the consumer out there, because in order to qualify for these programs, you have to have at least a 640 middle score. Okay? And so once you have, and that, I always tell this to my guys, having a 640 credit score is like having a passport. If you're going to go overseas, you know that you need to have your passport. You still got to buy your ticket. You have to ask for time off work, and then you got to get there. So having that score is just your step into the process. So having the score is exciting, but you have to have 2-year work experience in history.
She's doing your segment for you, Chris.
I'm fine with that.
Verification of rent and employment. So that if you work,
awesome.
we talked about somebody that didn't have a job and wanted to have a mortgage, and if you don't have a job, well, we're going to pray for you so that we can, find you.
Millie will lay hands on you.
I
job
can.
search service. But, to talk about what you're talking about, you're right. One of the things I tell everybody is if you're out there and a lender tells you, oh, we have a 580 program, run.
Absolutely.
Because let me tell you, if you had a 580 and could fit within that program, you wouldn't have a 580, number one.
Correct.
You can have a 580, but it's only on beachfront property in Arizona.
That is correct. And so,
that's bad.
and so that's number one. Number two is
that's
I
one
tell
of the
everybody,
stipulations.
One of the stipulations in Arizona, right? But number two is also in the great thing. There's a lot of these programs out there.
Yeah.
But remember also, not everybody qualifies for them.
Correct.
And the reason why is it's associated with debt to income ratio.
Correct.
Sometimes your income is too high to qualify for the programs. Some areas are specific to where you're looking at buying. Some of them are family oriented.
Correct.
1 to 2 families versus 4 to 6 members in the family has different requirements in regards to income.
Limit, right.
And so then it also depends on the program in which you're going to underwrite it under the baseline. Because sometimes, if you're doing a VA loan, for example, guess what? One of those programs sometimes isn't even necessary at that point. Because guess what? You're already getting 100% financing if you're disabled.
USDA loan will be a good
USDA in your rural development areas.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So there's a lot of things, and as you mentioned right there, New Home Programs walks them through a lot of those processes right there and what they can qualify for on the financing side.
Absolutely.
Chris, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Sorry. If you don't know finances, and you know this, Joe, if in order to sell a home, it's not about, yes, it is about the house, but it is about knowing the finances to make sure that homeowner stays there for however amount of the year that he desires to be there. We were in trouble a couple of years ago with all this foreclosures and short sales because people didn't know what they were doing. And there was, sad to say, realtors that weren't really helping the people out there.
I would agree. And, one of the things we talk about is, you want to make sure you engage, and we talked about this at the beginning, with a specialist, and more importantly, you want to be able to engage with an individual who knows what they're talking about, whether it be a realtor or it be a financial individual or anything of the services in between. Why? Because if you're not, you're just going to go through the process. We see too many people. I get every week somebody come to me and says, Chris, I need you to take over this loan because I was told this. And guess what? Unfortunately, they were told bad information to begin with. And and the part of the process is re-educating them in regards to that. And one of the things we've got right now, we actually have another caller calling in, Jackie in Houston. Jackie, how are you doing?
Doing fine, thank you.
Thank you very much for calling into the show. I hear you have a question for us.
I do, and it's going to sound a little stupid, but
no
I
such
just wanted
thing.
to know exactly what is a bad credit score. And of course, what can one do about a bad credit score?
Joe, that goes directly to you.
I'll take that one. In the lending, or specifically in the real estate world, Millie hit on it. 640 is the magic number that most realtors are looking for. There's lenders out there that can do below that, 620, 600 stuff. Each step that you go down in 20-point increments, it gets harder and harder. Once you pass over into the 500 zone, most lenders at that point are telling you they can't get it done. As Chris indicated, there 580s. There's stuff out there that they tell you can get done at 580, but what happens is that there's so many other conditions on top of it that it just becomes impossible. So in the real estate world, the below 600, that's where you're really in trouble credit score wise. We're going to be coming up on a break, and so the next segment, I think we're going to jump in and start talking about what can be done about that, because there is absolutely stuff that you can do to help you out. There's simple things when you're close, when you're in that 600 zone, 620 zone. There's some simple things that you can do to address improving it in the short term, and then we'll talk about some long-term strategies as well. So below 600, that's where you're in trouble.
And the thing is, if I may, before you get into a loan, you want to get to that 640, because if you're at press of time, you want to make sure that you have enough money to do that, because you're going to have to come up at least with $10,000 in reserves and down payment assistance, because it's not going to be cost effective. If you have the time to work on your credit and be able to, to get into your home comfortably, then that will be the best advice. So, I would just give a shout out to our realtors and newhomeprograms.com. Mike McKee, our newest addition, he's our cameraman today. And I had to do this. I just want to say, Corey, we miss you. And this is the first time I'm doing a show without him. So
Aww.
I hope that he's proud.
Oh, absolutely. Well, Jackie, and remember, still listen to the show, because the next segment coming up, we're going to be talking all about credit, how to improve credit, and what goes on in that process. Hopefully this will answer some of the questions for you.
It does. And I just want to let y'all know that the show helps a lot, because sometimes, we are afraid to actually even ask the questions because we're so embarrassed about our credit, or we think people are going to think we're bad people because we have bad credit. So the show is really informative, and sometimes, you guys really give us the answers without us asking. So thank you very much.
Likewise,
awesome.
Jackie.
Thank you so much for the
very
call,
much.
Jackie.
Appreciate you having on board today. For all those, we're up against a break right now. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
What a life. I'm in love.
Welcome back to the Real Estate Rat Pack Radio Show with Chris, Joe, and Rob. The crew is taking your calls, so dial in at 1-800-808-5548.
And welcome. We are back to the Real Estate Rat Pack Show. We want to hear from you, so definitely give us a call, 800-808-5548. Jackie just got through calling, and this next segment I think Jackie's going to absolutely love, because what we've been talking about so far is first time or re-engaging in the home buyer process right there. And we talked about what it's like to list your home, went into some of the new home programs, and we're going to talk about some more in regards to additional programs, financing, bond programs, etc. And like I said, Jackie had some very good questions in regards to credit. And so, generally speaking, an individual comes out there, they're speaking with us, they come and they go, we need a mortgage. Then the first thing I look at and say, you do have that 580. Or you do have that 550, and you do need to have additional credit repair. And I tell everybody it's important, again, speaking about going with individuals you trust, and that you know, and that are reputable in the business. Yep. That's why, and I will, shameless plug on Joe's behalf that I'll put for him.
Shameless plug.
That's why I only use Improve My Credit USA.
Hello.
And the reason why is because, number one, a respectable individual and a respectable company. Their technology is bar none one of the best, and also comes back to misleading. They don't mislead individuals about, guess what, we'll go ahead in 30 days and get everything removed.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, no.
When we see that all the time is individuals come and say, well, I was told if I use this company, they'll do something, and in 30 days, all my credit will jump right up. And I'll go, guess what? And then 30 days later, when you have all those, items disputed on your credit, I have to have you remove them all.
Don't you love those?
And that's where, sorry.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say that's where, again, you need to make sure that they're qualified and you get referrals.
Yes.
People,
one of the things that we do when I first meet with a client, if it's a listing or if it's a buyer, okay, we're going to give you a free credit analysis, okay? We're not a credit repair company like Joe over there, but we understand the finances because we don't want to overpromise and underdeliver. It is very important. These people are probably, hurt by or put it to the side because you can't do it. Well, we need to know why you can't get this house, and we're going to assist you throughout the process from giving you that analysis all the way to having those precious keys.
Absolutely. And Rob, we do know you are there, by the way. We can hear everything
Joe and I
in the
are
background.
looking at each other going, what?
Who is talking in the background? Yeah.
They already forgot about you, Rob.
Exactly.
Come back.
But Joe, talking about credit, obviously when an individual engages with you, talk a little bit about why it's important and what your process looks like on the credit restoration, credit repair side.
Yeah, absolutely. I want to take kind of off where we left off with Jackie on this process. You're thinking about buying a home, right? Well, to me, the first step is, because right now it is the most difficult step, is the credit. It's tightened up so much, and that becomes such a sticking point for so many people. So I recommend, there's tons of sites out there that do this. If you go to the number 3scores3reports.com, 3scores3reports.com, you can get all 3 of your credit reports, 2-week trial period for $1. You get all 3 credit reports with 3 scores. Now, I'll tell you real quick, it's a consumer report, so it doesn't hit your credit as an inquiry. That's the positive side. You don't want to do anything that's going to lower your scores before you even get started, right? So you want to avoid the inquiry, the hard inquiry. When you check it yourself, it's a soft inquiry, good, no problem there.
No, Joe, I have to interrupt you really fast right there. Talk about the difference between a consumer-based credit report
yes, that's where I was going.
and a mortgage-based credit report.
Now, the next part is to know that report that you pull is a consumer report, not a financial report. There's a difference. When a lender pulls it, it uses a different scoring algorithm. So the scores can vary from what you will see on that report.
Absolutely.
They can vary wildly sometimes.
Yep.
Right? Now, typically, they're within a 10-point, 20-point range, but even that can be dramatic. But this is why I say use this, because it gives you a good idea of where you're starting out at. If you pull that report from there and you come back with a 760 and all your scores are above 700, chances are when you go to that lender, you're not going to have any issues. You're fine. If you pull that report, however, and you come back with a 600, don't count on it being higher with the lender. Chances are it's going to be 10 to 20 points lower when the lender pulls it. So that's why I recommend using that right off the bat. It gives you an idea of where you're starting out at. If you come back with a 700, it's great. You're good. At that point, go find a great realtor, do the interview process, download that report that you had, that questionnaire you had, Teresa, and make sure you interview an expert. So we got that part. But what if you're now the person that, like Jackie said, you got below the 600? How do you know that you're dealing with somebody that's credible, et cetera, when it comes to your credit? First of all, Jackie, you're not bad at all.
Thank you for saying that.
When you have a bad credit
Poor
score,
thing.
especially since 2007, 2008.
Life happens.
Yes. Statistically, 1/3 of America had a credit score below 600. That's crazy. And this is just last year. That was a statistic. I haven't seen an update since then. So it's not about being a bad person. Life events happen.
Yeah.
Right? If you lose your job and you're out of work for a year, that doesn't make you a bad person. You know, it has nothing to do with that at all. We all go through life events. And unfortunately, the credit scoring model really doesn't go to give you room for that life event. You could have 20 years of great payment history, go through a life event, and while you're in the midst of it, for 2 years, you're going to look like a really bad person if your credit score makes that determination.
Yeah, that's so true, Joe, because, life does happen, and so much of it depends on what your credit score is, if you can get a car or if you can get a house, and we all put our pants on the same way. So,
absolutely.
You know what I mean? Like, that
Every
does
once in a
not
while,
make...
mine goes on backwards.
Yeah.
but-
Well, Chris, you're a totally different breed. No, the
The good thing is that you can recover from
Yes.
that.
Oh, of course.
And that's where I was
You
going
can
with
recover
that.
from
Yeah.
that.
I gave an indication, 2 years.
Yeah.
Why? I said that for a specific reason.
Yeah.
When you're going through a life event, your credit score, if you do nothing about it, will really be in the tank for 2 years. Why is that? Because 80% of your credit score comes from the last 24 months of activity.
Yeah.
Right? Now, that's also good news, because if you are proactive and you work with an expert who knows what they're doing in this, the worst case scenario is 2 years. Worst case scenario.
Can I say something there? Because there's a lot of misunderstanding. They think the people think once you messed up your credit, you're not going to touch it anymore, and you buy everything in cash. So
yes, oh my gosh.
You need to start building that in order to, if you're not proactive, if you forget about it, the problem is still going to be there, ignored, but it's going to be there.
Absolutely.
So you got to be proactive about that.
Absolutely.
Right, Joe?
Absolutely. So real quick, couple things. Jackie asked, what can you do?
Right.
Right? Negative and positive. You have to look at both sides. Negative information reporting on your credit and positive information reporting on your credit. How are you utilizing positive credit? It's extremely important to approach both of those. First of all, what is credit repair? A lot of people have a concept of what I do, that they sit down in front of me or my staff and they say, wave your magic wand, delete all the bad stuff, and make my scores go up. That is not what credit repair is. And if you hire somebody who's telling you that, look out. Because in my industry, it's illegal to make any kind of promise of an outcome. I can't tell you that your scores are going to go up in X amount of time. I can't make any promise of where you're going to be, because all I do, any legitimate credit repair company can do, is verify that the information that's reporting on your credit was done so accurately, according to the rules. Did they follow the rules when they reported that information on your credit? Because a lender can't just arbitrarily decide that you owe, I don't know, $5,000 sounds good. Let's run with that. I'm going to report that this guy owes me $5,000. No, it has to be verifiable. They have to be able to back up what they're saying about you. And that's really what we're shooting for. We went through, as you pointed out, 2007, 2008. It was a tough period for a lot of people, right?
So bad.
I don't want to create a false image of this buyer. I don't want to make somebody who really shouldn't be buying look like they can buy.
And there's a difference there, and you mentioned it, because one thing is to, fix your credit or delete things of your credit, and another thing is qualify for a home loan.
Yes. Right.
Deleting things doesn't mean that you're going to get this
That's
house.
You're
very
all of a sudden
true.
gonna be
Very
qualified.
true.
Yeah, that's
so
true.
That's a beautiful point. I'll give you an example of a customer we had. I had a customer who came in. They had 13 negative items reporting on each of the bureaus, total of 39 items, right? We always sit down and we do as you said, a complimentary credit analysis. We review their situation, look at where they're at, and say, is credit repair even for you? Right. Is this something that would be beneficial to you? About 30% of the people who sit in front of me, it wouldn't be their best option.
Hello.
They're in the middle right now of recent late payments, that sort of thing, and our counsel to them is, look, get those things current. Keep them current. Get to where you can be stable for at least 6 months. Then come back and see us, and we can talk about moving forward. Yeah. But until you're stable, there's no point in it. You're throwing money away if you do it. Yeah. Right? So that's the first step. Be stable. Be back on the way back up. Not on the way down. Right. I don't want to see you then.
If you're currently late on something, you want to make sure that you're still paying.
Exactly.
On time.
Use the money you would have paid me to pay that.
Right.
I totally
exactly.
agree.
Right.
Did you guys see the news the other day on CNN? This lady who sued Equifax and got $18.6 million because it was reported incorrectly. She said it's not mine, and they didn't really listen to her, and she was missed out on buying a home, buying other properties, and she got $18.6 million. So you have to be knowledgeable what is in your score,
Absolutely.
What are you doing, and what is reporting incorrectly.
Absolutely. So this guy, I'll give you an example.
Yeah.
That's why I said negative and positive. I want to answer Jackie's question thoroughly for her
Okay,
here.
go
right?
ahead.
We had this guy come in, 13 negative items reporting. We look at it. They're old. And so in that position, the government says you have the right to verify everything that's reporting on your credit. You have the right to make sure that what they're saying about you is accurate. So we say, look, you look like a good candidate to do that. We're going to verify that all of this is reported accurately. However, Mr. Customer, you have no positive credit reporting. You must establish positive credit. Mm-hmm. How do I do that? I have a bad credit score. We talk about good, critical word here, good secured credit cards. Cards that have fair rates. They don't kill you with all the, application fees and all this kind of stuff, because look out, some of the biggest credit cards out there that offer secured credit cards are really bad. I can go on about that, but, we'll offer you a complimentary credit evaluation. Talk to one of my experts and they can help you with that. But anyway, we counsel this client, you must establish positive credit. You really want to have at least 2 major credit cards that report to all 3 bureaus. At least 2. That's at minimum, right? So then we deal with the customer. 4 to 6 months go by. He comes in. He is furious. I want my money back. You guys are cons. You didn't do anything, et cetera, blah, blah, blah. I still have bad credit. We're like, whoa, calm down, Mr. Customer. Let's look at what's going on. All 39 items had been verified as inaccurate, deleted from his credit. 100% of the negative items gone, right? He had no credit. He had no credit score.
No open.
Yeah.
We look at his file every month for the last 6 months. We see on his file, customer must establish positive credit. He never did it. Both sides are critical in the process, positive and negative. So talk to an expert about that. ImproveMyCreditUSA.com.
Improve My Credit USA.
Shameless
Let me
plug.
tell you, I can vouch for him, use him religiously. Great organization, great individual. And we can talk forever, but unfortunately, we got to go to a break right now. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
I live in a tiny closet, a lukewarm cold water flat.
Welcome back to the Real Estate Rat Pack Radio Show with Chris, Joe, and Rob. The crew is taking your calls, so dial in at 1-800-808-5548.
And welcome back to the Real Estate Rat Pack Show. You know, time flies when you're having fun.
It does.
And boy, we're having a lot of fun. You know, and Rob is missing being in the studio today with some great ladies, some great information. Of course, he is maybe beating us a little bit in the sense that he's out in the great state. I wouldn't say great. Texas is the great state, by the way.
Texas is
the good state of
It can be a great state.
California.
It's just that we're the greatest state.
We're the greater state.
Yeah. Joe, I want you to bring up some stat information because, I'm a stat guy. How much erroneous information is on people's credit reports right now?
Wow. Okay, so 60 Minutes just did an investigative report a couple months back that was awesome. We are in Washington as a company and as an industry quite a bit, really working to change the perception and all that sort of thing of our industry, and we're finally starting to get some traction. And so February this year, 60 Minutes did an investigative report and they demonstrated that there is 1 in 10 credit reports has an error on it. Erroneous information. 1 in 10, 10%. And, 1 in 5. They said 1 in 5 has an erroneous information on the report, and 1 in 10, it's such an erroneous information that it causes financial damage. 10% causes financial damage. Now, I know that's bogus. Because I know it's a lot higher than that.
I'm about to say it had to have been higher.
It's a lot higher than that. All right. So this is a very common statistic in my industry. Very common. You can see many, many companies in our industry that report this statistic, right? 70% of all the negative information that's reported on someone's credit report typically is inaccurately reported. 70%. It is that huge.
And when you're saying inaccurate, are you saying it's just wrong, or it was done incorrectly, or
yeah? So check it out. A lot of times when we talk to people, they're like, well, I know I didn't pay that. Okay, good. You know that you didn't pay that. You have a late payment on that date. Was the date that they're reporting it correct? Was the amount that they're reporting correct? On and on and on it goes. Because, great, you were late on that payment, but they're saying you owe $10,000 when your original balance was $2,000. They can't just arbitrarily decide to tack on fees. It has to have been contractually agreed upon. That's one of the things they do. Why? Because they know when they get you on the phone, they're going to say, well, you owe us $2 million, but if you settle today, we'll do it for $200. Well, that sounds incredible. I got to go ahead and move on that.
But you only owe $1 to begin with.
Somebody gets behind on a payment, and then they come to terms with the creditor and start paying it off. Is there an advantage to doing that, or talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for the softball questions.
I think you look good, Joe.
Yeah,
softball,
it's a very valid question. One of the things we always have to be very careful about in my industry is it is illegal for me or anybody else to tell you not to pay a bill, not to pay a debt. So to be very careful about how we consult with a person in dealing with that. A couple things happen. You have that bill that you owed on, the Chase card or whatever, and time goes by and you were unable to pay it, you were out of a job, and now you're gainfully employed again, and it's a few years later, and you want to do the right thing, you want to pay the bill and all that sort of thing, and you've got the third collection company now calling you because they've sold that debt multiple times over, and they make you this great offer. Hey, if you pay it now, $200, we'll take a penny on the dollar, if you settle this today. And what happens is that even in doing the right thing, doing what you in your heart you want to do is right, can really seriously injure you in the process. Because what happens is that 7-year clock, once you make the payment on that 7-year clock, starts all over again.
Yep, resets it.
So you take a debt now.
7-year rule.
Yeah, you take that debt, as I said earlier,
7-year
80% of your credit score comes from the last 24 months. Y'all remember me saying that earlier, right?
Yeah.
So now you take a collection account that's 3-4 years old. It's in that 20% group, and you pay it. What happens?
You restart.
7-year clock
again.
starts all over.
Yep.
You move that collection account out of the 20% zone back into the 80% zone, and all of a sudden your credit score tanks again.
Little trivia.
Yeah.
That's called the year of Jubilee in the Bible, by the way.
Yeah, yes,
But
yes, 7 years. Yeah,
You know, one of the things we were talking about during the break right here, I know Millie and I were talking about this, is, you know, the reason why these subject matters are so important to understand about credit, to understand about the new home buying process, is because the last thing that we want anybody to do, and Millie and I were talking about this, is to get any false expectations of being able to buy.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because let me tell you, the one thing that causes is that false expectation out there. As an individual, there's a lot of money involved. And there's also the aspect of you have a home being taken off the market. You have a potential seller who might be looking at selling their home and moving into a new space. You have your buyer, the ones that we represent also, who gets all excited about, guess what, I'm getting into my first home, or I'm buying my second home, or I'm buying this home right here. And a lot of what we want to tell everybody out there is it's important to engage in this process, understand is make sure that you're doing the right thing. You know, Millie, you talked about this. When an individual engages with you, you don't pass it on to a lender until they pass through a process in which you know you have a very good shot of making sure they get approved.
We want to make sure that these clients are just sure what they're doing. We have 29 agents in our office, 6 brokers. We promote education. I mean, we are blessed of being in Houston. We have one of the best realtors associations in the nation.
Yes,
we
we
have
do.
other.
Yes.
My company is also in Florida and in Miami, and I can tell you, Houston, we are spoiled. And so I'm telling you, so what happens is when someone comes to newhomeprograms.com, we give them that free credit analysis. We're going to look at it. It's very important to know what they need to be, but also we need to understand the guidelines of the loans, the programs, whatever it's needs to be in there for their best benefit, because yes, they have to have some skin on the game as well, so you want to involve them because it is a process. There is no such thing as, magic.
The magic wand?
Yeah.
There is none?
You have to work at it. So,
no pixie dust.
You got it. Exactly.
The crystal ball.
So,
Millie,
yes.
talk about, I know there's a lot of programs right there, and I know that is your bailiwick. How many
Holy cow.
programs are out there that
She has a bailiwick.
Say that again, Rob.
Fannie Mae underwritten loans, a bailiwick. How many programs are out there that can actually help people, and people aren't aware that there's these programs out there to get them into a home?
How many times do I have? No, just kidding.
Let's say. How many times do you have to repeat that again?
12 minutes.
Right. Well, listen, it really depends. If you're in the state has its program. The counties level has their own programs as well. And even down to the city programs we have. So depending on where you want to buy the house, your ratios, and, the type of property that you want to buy, there are several programs that you can, even the lenders have their own programs. You can have a conventional loan for, 3% down. Hey, you just need to know where to go get it. But you want to make sure also that those people are trustworthy. So that's why at newhomeprograms.com we actually are going to hand walk you through the entire process, because it is a process. So, we have state programs, to repeat myself again, and we have several. So you have the Bond 79, you have T-Shack, which is a nonprofit, and it's 5% down, and I believe it's 4.5% interest rate, or 5%. And then you have the city levels in Houston, 14,200, 19,200, 30,000. You just got to make sure that you speak with an expert and they know what they're doing before you get talking to that lender, because you want to be approved. You don't want to get another denial.
I would agree. And you also have programs such as the Home Path and Home
Heroes,
Steps, Homes for Heroes,
Yes.
your teacher programs, your 77, as you mentioned, Southeast
that's
Texas Housing. So
MCC,
Mortgage Credit Certificate. So you have a lot of different programs. But the other thing I tell everybody, and this is probably one of the things that when an individual comes in and sits down, I tell them is this as well. Understand that what you qualify for and what you're willing to pay can sometimes be two different things, okay?
Yes.
What you need and what you want.
That is correct. So the one thing also is when you sit down with your professional, whether it be with your realtor, whether it be with your mortgage professional, whether it be with your credit repair, also have a good understanding of what your budget and what you can afford is. I see all too often individuals saying, I want to apply for one of two ways. I want to either afford a $500,000 homes, but I want a $2,000 monthly payment, okay?
Yeah.
Which is not going to happen. Or have individuals who want to have a $2,000 payment and they're trying to be pushed on a $400,000 home.
Yeah.
You know, so what you also need to do when you're out there is make sure you have a good understanding going into this. Where do I stand, and what do I really feel comfortable with? And don't have an individual qualify you for anything. Have an understanding of what you would like to qualify for based on your own preference right there.
Can I say that also goes to the listing side?
Yeah.
One of the things that I also tell the sellers, is like we're going to give you a comparative market analysis because what you think your house may sell for, it may not be. Now, given it is a moving market right now, you can't do a comparative analysis within a year from from now, because right now things are moving forward. So you have to stay true to the market, but you also have to kind of like Teresa was saying at the beginning, you need to know okay, this is what we can do. Okay, these are the expectations, and so in New Home Programs we also have a program we're for the sellers as well, because you're gonna sell, but you got to live somewhere.
Right.
Yeah.
So if you're going to either buy a new home, bigger or smaller, you're going to move into an apartment. So somewhere, I mean, praise God for doctors and everything, but you got to have a house.
Yeah.
And so we are in the good profession here.
We are coming down to 2 minutes, and with those 2 minutes, we do our lightning round and exit almost. So let's start over there with Teresa. Lightning round. One of the things lightning round basically says is, in 20 seconds, let us know what you want somebody to leave the program knowing, and let us know how to reach you really fast.
Okay. You can visit my website, KennedyTeam.net, and we've got a wealth of knowledge there. We also have, all sorts of vendors. If you're looking for lenders or contractors, anything that you need to get your home ready to list and sell.
I'll be on that list pretty soon.
Yes.
Yeah, you are going to be on my list because, well, that's also one thing that we talk about with the sellers too is getting them pre-approved. I mean, because that's huge, and I always give them options to choose from. I would never want to, they're going to have different options whenever they work with us.
Absolutely.
That is
who works best for them.
KennedyTeam.net. Millie, how about you? What's your words of wisdom, and how can we reach you?
First of all, just get knowledgeable about the process. Know what you're getting yourself into. Do interview your realtor, your real estate agent, and just go to newhomeprograms.com. You can reach any of our partner agents in there. They're very knowledgeable about the whole entire process, and we're able to hand walk you from the start to the end, all the way to closing day.
Joe, how about you? How can we reach ImproveMyCreditUSA.com?
A constant theme on this show is work with experts. Work with experts. If you're needing to work on your credit, ImproveMyCreditUSA.com. You can reach us anytime there. We're open. We have folks there right now. Give us a shout. ImproveMyCreditUSA.com.
And I am Chris Kelso. You can always reach me actually through the radio show at Real Estate Rat Pack Show or www.chriskelso.com. We're always available to take care of you. 7x24, whatever you need right there. Again, go out there, like us on Facebook. Until next week, we will talk to you soon.
Thank you, guys.
And you've been listening to the Real Estate Rat Pack. The question is, who's Frank, who's Sammy, who's Dean, and who's the other guy?
Chris is Frank,
I'm
he's
Dean.
Dean, and I'm Sammy.
Yes, he's Dean. That's right. Yeah.
So tune in to the really big show every Saturday at 9 a.m. right here on 100.7 The Word, KKHT.